Alderman Slotnick is here. Alderman Dwayne is excused. I'd like to also mention that Alders Nenning and Dorf are in the audience. Anybody else? Okay. All right, I would ask for an adoption of the agenda.
Move adoption.
Second?
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That passes. Approval of the minutes from the
Move
September
approval.
12th.
Second?
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That passes. Number 4, consideration with possible action on request to fill the replacement position of maintenance specialist to mechanic in parks, recreation, and forestry, and all subsequent vacancies resulting from internal transfers.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, is there any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thanks for coming. All right, next, number 5A, consideration with possible action on out-of-state travel requests. I'll go through all of them. A, development specialist and real estate specialist to attend the Environmental Protection Agency's National Brownfields Training Conference in Pittsburgh, PA, December 4th through 8th of this year at no cost to the city for room, board, or transportation. B, fleet manager to travel to Levis, Quebec, Canada in mid-November for pre-delivery inspection of 2 new automated refuse collection tanks. Estimated cost to the city, $75 for meals. C, Lieutenant Allen to attend FEMA Field Force Command Training Program in Anniston, Alabama, November 5 to 10 of this year, at no cost to the city for room, board, or transportation. D, maintenance training of newly purchased Holmatro vehicle extrication equipment in Maryland for fire mechanic Mark Retzlaff, October 25 to 27 of this year, and senior fire mechanic Trevor Janiak in March or April of 2018. Estimated cost for room, board, and transportation, $3,200. Committee, do you have any specifics?
I'll move approval of A, B, C, and D.
I'll second for discussion.
Okay.
I would just like to get more clarity on what it is Lieutenant Allen is actually attending. What training, I guess what the training entails.
Sir, Lieutenant Allen is our designated mobile field force commander, so he teaches our officers on the Green Bay Police Department how to handle crowd control situations and riot situations, stuff like that. So FEMA offers a 1 week's course that they send him down, or they will take him down there, no cost to the city, only his wages, and then he'll be able to come back and teach that course to us and other people in the region.
Okay. So FEMA actually handles that? That's kind of a
Correct.
weird thing.
Yeah, I'm not sure why FEMA does it, but they sponsor that class, and so it's all about crowd control and crowd management, things like that. So fortunately, we haven't had any issues with that here, at least not recently, but hopefully we'll be well prepared when he comes back.
Okay.
Okay.
Sure.
That's all I have.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay. I just had one question. I don't know if this is for Steve. On the transportation room and board for D, letter D. I don't know if we can.
Fire mechanic?
Yeah, the fire mechanic. I'm sorry. That's my fault, Steve. Chief, could you just explain that a little bit? As
Sure,
far as
the,
costs?
Yeah, so that's the equipment that was approved at the last finance and personnel meeting. Part of the money that we requested through the bonding was to provide for the training for this. So
Okay.
they will go out there, they will learn not only the preventive maintenance of the equipment that we're purchasing, but they'll also learn maintenance in the event of a breakdown in the equipment. We expect that this equipment will be in service here in the city between 10 and 15 years. So if we have to send this equipment out, it takes it out of service, number one, and number two, it's very expensive to have it sent out to the tune of about $200 to $300 an hour for maintenance. So they have to fly to Baltimore, Maryland. The Holmatro plant is outside of Baltimore, about 25 miles. So we have to get them from the airport to there, put them up for the 3 nights, and then get them back, obviously.
I was just looking at the cost, just, trying to figure out.
$1,600 each basically covers it all. It'll probably be a little bit less than that, but we wanted to make sure that
Okay.
we didn't short it. But that was all.
That was all
It
pre-approved.
was all included in the cost that we had provided before us.
Okay.
We're not asking for any additional money, it's there.
Okay. All right, anything else, gentlemen? Do we have a motion?
You have a motion.
Do we have a motion and a second?
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah,
all in
second.
favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. Number 6, consideration with possible action on presentation by IT administrator and city clerk on the new meeting minutes program.
All right, good evening.
Hey, Mike?
Good evening, Mike.
Well, first I'd like to just present that we are not the only municipality that has this software. Right here's a list of a lot of Wisconsin communities with the software vendor at the top. The number after these is the population of the municipality throughout the state. So there's a lot of municipalities in the in the state that have this software. Probably not an all-inclusive list either. It was something that Chris sent out to all the clerks and they responded. So we selected Nova Solutions. A lot of other communities have Granicus and Acela. I could go right into the software demo then. I sent each of you a link to it. I don't know if you've seen it or previewed it at all. But there's a self-guided demo. We don't have the software installed, so this is about all I can give you right now. And mostly what pertains to you, the first two are staff related, creating and approving agendas. Then there's something council related, which is the board portal. And then again, this is probably us developing minutes out of the software. And then there's a public search utility. It's up to you. All 4 or 5 of those tutorials take about 6.5 minutes. Do you want to see them all, or should I just go into your board portal and the
I
minutes?
think we
and,
can afford 6 minutes.
Yeah, we're doing pretty good on time.
That's good. Okay.
Minutes was a big one.
So just roll it.
Creating items in Noah's agenda is a breeze. You can add the item to a meeting, add comments, and send it to workflow in just a few moments. Once users have logged in, they simply click on the new item link to start the process. The first step is to give the item a title. The next step is to pick an agenda category to add the item to. Now you move on to filling out the rest of the information about the item. This form is always configured to client specifications to make it very easy to use. Now you simply move on to the Meeting tab to add the item to an upcoming meeting created by your agenda preparer. When you're finished with that, you move on to Attachments. You add attachments by simply describing the attachment, browsing to a file somewhere on your network or PC, and clicking Upload Attachment. It's that simple. Novus Agenda supports multiple attachments. You can add as many files as you'd like to complete the creation of your item. The Comments tab supports internal staff comments. When you're finished, you click on the Routing tab and submit the item to Workflow. Creating an item is simple enough. Check out the rest of our self-guided demo to see how easy Novus Agenda is to use. Item reviewers can review and approve items easily in Novus Agenda. Email alerts notify approvers to go in and find the item waiting for their approval. Approvers can typically edit items during the review process, although this can be controlled. When they're finished with their review, they either approve or disapprove the item. Workflows are configured for each client to determine where the item goes next. Continue your self-paced tour of Novus Agenda by clicking on some of our other videos. The Novus Agenda Board Portal is a powerful tool to give members full access to agenda, minutes. They can make private preparatory comments as well as full item searching is available. We also support electronic voting, and the Board Portal supports any web-enabled device. Board members can access information from work on a PC, from the meeting on a tablet, or from home on a Mac. There are no apps with Novus Agenda. It is indeed 100% web-based. Members log in with a secure username and password. Here they could download a PDF of any agenda packet, or they could access our easy-to-use HTML view. Once members log in, a list view that supports tablet use is presented to them by default. They can view any item by simply clicking on it and seeing the item details. Members can make private preparatory comments on the Comments tab related to each item. Once they make their comments, they simply save them. A comment flag is added to the item so the member is reminded that there's a private comment there during the meeting. Members also have access to the traditional view of the agenda if they don't care for the list view, but the list view is best designed for tablet use. During the actual meeting, the active item is highlighted for the board members so they know exactly where they are on the agenda in case they're distracted. Request to speak can be enabled by the board clerk at any time. It allows the member to be queued up to speak. When an item is brought to vote, the motion is recorded in the top left portion of the screen. The active item is yellow, so it's highlighted. The vote buttons appear at the top right, and the member simply chooses the button they'd like to click and confirms their vote. Votes are automatically tallied for the meeting clerk. Members can access the full search capability of Novus Agenda with the search button. Here, members get full text searching capability in all meetings in the system. They can search for meetings, items. The search will even search their private comments if they haven't deleted them. Novus Agenda will give your board members easy access to information before, during, and after the meeting. And remember, it's web-based, so there's no special hardware or apps required. They can access with any device. Your minutes preparer will also find Novus Agenda to be a great time saver. Novus Agenda allows for a very efficient preparation of your minutes package. While compiling minutes, all the items from the agenda are listed on the left portion of the screen. Initiating a motion on an item is easy. You simply put in a motion title and a first and second and save the motion. Discussion notes on this particular motion go into the text field at the bottom. When you're ready to vote, you can click all approved for everybody unanimous, or you can adjust votes manually. You save your motion and move on to the next item. Novus Agenda can be configured to automatically create your minutes for you. When you go to preview your minutes, it'll show you one of two sets of minutes, either draft or final minutes. The final minutes can be set up to totally compile the minutes based on the data entered. This saves a lot of time writing minutes. The Novus Agenda Minutes module is a time saver, and it brings consistent format to all of your minutes layouts. Novus Agenda enables public access for searching meetings and minutes, as well as reviewing the board term tracking module. Public will access your search page via a link on your website. The page is customized to match your look and feel. Searching can be filtered by meeting type, assuming you're using Novus Agenda's unlimited use license for multiple meetings. Once a meeting is selected, you can even filter further by agenda category. Full text searching is also supported, giving you a result for all meetings and items that match the text search. Public can also easily access the term tracking module to view details on any board or commission, as well as member details for contact information. When looking at meeting search results, the public...
We didn't buy the term tracking module. So that kind of is the software in a nutshell. We were going to purchase a tablet for every individual council member. They'd be able to bring it home, and then we'd have an extra set of tablets in each committee room for all the other committees to vote on. But that would stay inside the room in a charging cabinet. So, and we'd have some extra ones in the council room in case somebody brought a tablet back that was not fully charged. So basically what you do is before each meeting, you just log into the website and you'd select the meeting type that you're going to attend. So what you'll also see is they have webinars for personnel at the city and for committee members also. There's a board portal, so if they make an update or an upgrade, they'll be able to show you a webinar on how to proceed with it. Also, there's an uploading old minutes. What Chris has done, Chris and her staff has taken the last 20 years of minutes in Word documents, compiled them all together, and put them into a single meeting document that we're going to upload into the system. So basically, the system will have 20 years worth of searchable documentation in one location. The old video will not be indexed like the current video will be. I mean, the newer video will be, but you'll still be able to view it from there. Should be able to.
So Mike, I was going to ask, with these meetings, because, I think about the quorum issue. Let's say if we have our own tablets, we get minutes or notes, things that we might want to share or talk about with other alders. You're saying that each of these tablets is self-contained for just each one of us?
Yeah, and you could write notes before the meeting, not write notes, use paper. But if you wrote them in there, you could delete them easily too. But if they're
That's
in
for
there, you can
yourself.
search for them at a later date. It's all, it's all password protected by yourselves. You each have your own account.
Joe? question?
Who makes the determinations about like which tabs, what capabilities are accessible to whom, basically? Obviously, an alderperson isn't going to go in there and add an agenda item 22 hours before a meeting.
Right.
The proper notice has to be given and stuff, so.
That workflow probably has to still be worked out with Chris, but, yeah, I guess, yeah, she'd have to be the people with the rights to it. She would be the main administrator of the site.
Okay, and then the other question that we had a lot of discussion on last time around too was with the date stamping and the search bar for the video to find items that were discussed so that obviously we can take our own notes off of those minutes, but there's no way to demo that and see how that would work today.
How a search function works?
Well, how to search in a video. So,
So-
right here.
So an item is indexed to a video, and so Mike can show you.
Mike,
Okay.
you had provided a link to a California community that uses the system. Can you bring that up and maybe just show by example?
That's right here, and this is Rollersville, California,
Okay?
and they have a population, I believe, of about 115,000. So, kind of comparing apples to apples. And let me just refresh the site. I'm kind of playing around with it with everybody else today. Oops. Also, sorry about the slowness. We will be upgrading the infrastructure in each room also. We're going to put in broadband wireless access points, so it's newer technology. And we'll put in multiple ones if we have any kind of latency. So we're expecting.
was that all part of the budgeted dollars
Yeah.
out of the,
Mhm.
okay.
These tablets right here are about $250 a piece with the hardened case and the protective filter on the. So basically, this is the steel spin.
Well, Mike, I'm sure the question will be asked as time goes on and the council decides this is the route to go. Will this be it? There won't be any hard copy minutes, or how would that?
So I'm just handing you some things. You've actually already decided that.
Yeah, okay. Well, I just needed to,
And actually, so here's something else that would be great with this new software. You could have searched this, Nova Solution software or agenda management software yourself, and then you could have seen what I just handed to you.
Okay, so just imagine this as being the city of Green Bay. It's a public meeting site, and you'll see a bunch of different meetings. We've negotiated unlimited meetings for them. We have about 29 different commissions, committees, boards, or whatever. The ones that don't meet in City Hall are not videotaped, but they will be required to put their meetings, agendas in this software. So you just look on the left, right over here, I could search for mosquitoes, or I could search for sport or something like that, but I'm just gonna search for mosquito. Make it easy. And you'll see that nothing showed up. That's basically because there was no meeting that with the word mosquito in the minutes or agendas in the last 6 months. I just turned it to, and I did that on purpose.
This was from California?
Yeah.
Type in earthquake.
mudslide.
Or fire.
Yeah.
So basically, there was 4 meetings with the word mosquito in it, and I'll probably just, so then you can go to the online, and then you go to items, and this is the individual item inside each one of those meetings. So this is the proclamation of the West Nile virus on April 5th. So you just click on that, and that is the presentation during the meeting. So it's agenda item 5 point, and it goes right to the index portion of the meeting. So it's pretty simple, and then right here is all the online attachments that are associated with that agenda item.
And now this will be completely accessible to the general public as well.
And this is all citizen search right here, public citizen search.
Well, they might-
We did this for you, Bill.
Yeah,
Cell phone,
you can rest once in a while.
tablet.
Oh, I turned off the volume, sorry.
Right, so we have a proclamation this evening. Whereas the Mosquito and Vector Control Association of California.
Not sure how long you want to listen to this, but
designated
I
can
can
search
search again, you know, it seems to work.
in 2017 as West Nile virus and mosquito vector.
Show us an
control
example of the
emergency.
minutes.
Okay.
Reminder presentations, we have 2 presentations this evening.
Here's an example of legal minutes.
Okay?
And that's, what they do is basically a roll call, pledge of allegiance, and then they do the motions and the vote results, I believe. And here's consent, sorry. I'm not good at minutes, I don't really know what goes on. Chris could probably show you this, but this would be the,
Yeah, it's gonna give the item, and then it'll give the vote and the motion.
So,
Will it capture?
Not a lot of flavor,
Will it
as you
capture
said.
any of the discussion? So if somebody from if some citizen speaks on the matter, will that be captured in the minutes?
No, it'll be on video.
but there is a way to put in the speaker's name and address in the system, so you'll always have that. If they fill out a card, we can scan the card and then put that into the system. Here's a sample of Appleton's minutes.
It's just a different company
Yeah.
from what
they-
we chose.
Right.
can I ask, is Brown County offhand, does anybody know if they're considering something on this order or not? Probably not.
They have had discussions,
They've had it? Okay.
just like improving getting a new website too. So their minutes of a recent council meeting would be right here. So they would have a video link right here, and then they have the motion and the vocals.
Now, if you wanted to, like I said, the minutes, the written minutes aren't explaining a lot in terms of the flavor, as you said, but if you go to the link, or
That video link will take you to.
would it
that
take you
segment?
right to that spot if
Just
you
yes.
type in the word?
Yep.
This is the presentation, Alder Zimmer.
And ours will do that also. We were just showing another example of another community that does minutes. And I turned off the audio.
Previous meeting, motion by Alderperson Crowe, second by Alderperson Voracek. Any discussion? Go ahead and cast your votes.
Thank you very much to the council. On behalf of the
Motion carries 11-0.
California, we're
All right,
doing our best.
business presented by the mayor. I
Roseville's minutes do not have the video linked to it, but our minutes would. Their video is linked to their agendas. Ours would be linked to our agendas and our minutes and results.
So Chris, you were saying there's 29 different meeting minutes out there that we go through? Is there, and I suppose it varies on the meetings, but you were talking about the time that it takes to produce those. 1 hour for 5 pages, is that it?
10 to 15 minutes takes an hour, and that's, I talked to the girls at the county, and they said that's being very conservative. And I called them because Alderman Zima stated he liked their minutes. But I asked them how they did it, and they just summarized, just like we do. But yeah, so, and in City Hall, there isn't any consistency. So some departments do very short minutes, and some have to do very long minutes. So this is gonna make everything
straight across the board.
Okay.
Straight across the board, no minutes.
Pardon?
It's gonna be straight across the board, no minutes. You have to go to this machine if you wanna know anything about what happened.
There will be video with it though, too.
What has that got to do with anything?
No, I'm just stating it.
I'm just telling you, your minutes you're going to get are going to be zero.
Well, the
They're going
minutes
to be
we're-
zero.
The minutes we're gonna get are gonna be what's on this system,
They're not going to be printed out, Mr. Sladek.
unless, you're right.
And there's no way to print them out.
I don't know that that's the case.
Well, ask the question. I'll be corrected.
Mike, is there a way to print out the
If you
minutes?
turn around right here to the legal minutes. Just click on that once you find it, and it's,
Well, it's a PDF document, so you can print out a PDF document.
Sure.
I think what Alderman
You
Zima
can
means
only
is you're not gonna
print-
be able to print out what people are saying in their discussion. You're gonna be able to print the
Well,
minutes,
you're
but it's
right.
just gonna be the
Exactly
summaries.
right. I mean, this is a end-around way of ending minutes as we know them, and I don't think they are adequate. This is not, and as I said at our previous meeting, this is no knock in any shape, form, or manner on our clerk's department. They haven't had a new employee forever. In fact, they were cut back. And I also went over and checked with our gals that do the work for the county. And they confirm that if you're gonna do it verbatim, word for word, it pretty much is the same as what Chris was presenting to us. But not everything fits into that category. Sometimes there's just incidental things or whatever. It's just that they cover what the meat of the matter. In other words, if there's extensive discussion about a particular item, they give them out pretty much verbatim. They may summarize a little bit, and they'll put a quote sometimes, but they summarize them. There's really no complaints in the county. And those minutes come out, and those are available not only to us, but any public who wants to go back in and see those written minutes. That you would have to go on a big fishing expedition, fishing through all the meetings and all the agendas, and then punch on it,
Guy,
just to hear what
Guy,
somebody said.
you missed the beginning of the presentation.
I could show another search query for them.
Well,
Why don't
just a
you-
second, you can answer my question simply. Can discussion be printed off? There is
No.
no way to do that.
No.
So, you're not going to have minutes. The only written things you're going to have are motions and results of motions. You are not going to have any discussion, and if you think that that's going to intrigue your, unless there's something that you're really concerned about or something that you might go and look at it, but even if you did go look at it, how could you print it off? You need minutes that tell not only us, but also the public in a form that they can have. These minutes have been done since time immemorial. I am happy for the technology, because that really does give us a real good permanent record. Or are they gonna throw them away after 2 years? No. It's a permanent record. It goes on a disc, so that anytime anybody wanted to really check back and really said what was exactly said, because sometimes we're trying to remember what was said, you have an ability to do it. I think for that goes, it's well worth the money. I'm happy to have it. It creates a permanent historic record and provides for complete transparency if you really are trying to look for something. It's like, the NSA is recording everything everybody says all the time, but of course there's nobody sitting there listening to it. But if they can find it if they want to, if they think they want to follow something, they can. I do not think we should abandon our minutes. In fact, we should try to get them to cover our discussion a little better. As Chris said, some of them are better than others. Depends on who's doing the minutes, and sometimes it's just department head. But we do have staff in the county to do it, and they don't have staff here. That's a fact. They have very little staff.
Has the county been looking at this? The county has been studying this though as well, haven't they? To do this system, or a system like this? That's, my understanding
Well, it
is
has
they are.
not risen to any level that our minutes have stopped.
Well, I'm just asking, because I heard that the county has peeked at
The
this.
county board chairman was looking at some system, and I don't know If it was to replace minutes, that was never talked about. And I think there would be a rebellion about that.
Mr. Ronnie, the first slide that you had showed, I think, was it, we're the only of the top 7 most populous communities in the state? Were we the only one out of 7
No, they're right here. Milwaukee.
that doesn't do it?
No, Milwaukee, Madison, all
1,
these
2,
would have been
Kenosha's.
behind in their top 10.
We're number 3, there's
No, they're
4,
using
5,
a-
6,
They're
7.
using a different system.
A different system, but it's
But
all.
they are using LMS.
So of the
system.
top 7 populous communities in the state, we're the only one doing the paper minutes. With the
Well-
summaries and the,
I don't know the level of degree that the other community, I gave an example of Appleton, I didn't look at any other community.
Well, none of
Appleton
them,
does,
I went into each one.
Okay.
The only one that didn't, I'm sorry, Mike.
No, go ahead.
The only one that didn't answer was Eau Claire, but I went into each website. None of them were verbatim. That's for sure. For the most part, they were just the vote and the motion. You know, the item has a little more meat to it than what we see now. You know, it'd be more like, I'm thinking at the committee level, the meat of it. But none of them do what we do.
I guess your question then, Alderman Zima, is that you're looking at the fact that we have a video that we can go to, but you're actually looking at more than that. You don't want just the video that we could look at any time on this, but you're looking at the hard copy minutes. You want
The video
something.
system is a fantastic tool for historic record, that it gives you a very accurate thing to go back to if you need to be accurate for something. Now, sometimes people don't take things that seriously, but the written minutes that you receive do. I mean, we get this stuff. I mean, the meetings are one week, it comes at the weekend, and you get a chance to look over something, and hopefully you can go ask some questions if you need to. But those minutes are important. Now, some people don't bother hardly looking at the minutes, but I'm not basing what I think should be done based on people who have very little interest. We know that there's people that do more than other people do. It's the same in all walks of life. But this is for transparency of government. This is a tool for us to be able to at least get a sense of it. I felt a lot of our minutes are very weak. They're not very helpful to me. That's why, I mean, when there's something I thought was important, I wanted that part of the minutes corrected. I want what I had said being put into it, because I thought it was important. And of course, nobody wants to do anything. And their department is strapped. I'm not sitting here, I mean, it takes some work. I mean, the county has 2 people that put 50, 60, 70% of their time, depending on how many meetings and end of the year, but there is a record there. There's a strong record that anybody can look into, anybody can read, anybody can get a sense of what went on at that meeting.
I just want to clarify though, at
Go
the
ahead.
county level, they only have 1 meeting a month. And the girls have 3 days to transcribe, and they said sometimes they can't even make the deadline. We make our deadlines right now.
Just a minute, the county board meetings are not handled much better than our city council minutes are. Our city council minutes are basically, you know, they're just something for the newspaper, I guess. I mean, it's just brute showing what was voted on and how people voted. But the county committee meetings, yes, they meet normally once a month, sometimes more often. But it's an important thing. I tell you, after I'm in my 5th decade, and I feel extremely strong about the quality and the necessity of having these things. We're in $100 million budgets and we're worried about what it's going to cost to keep minutes, really? It's like trashing history. It's like trashing history.
Tom?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I guess I want to acknowledge some discomfort with this, because anytime you have a change, particularly a technology-driven change, you don't know for sure what it's going to be like. And the demos have been very helpful. I think I better understand what the system will look like. And I am convinced that having videos on record like that, in terms of preserving historical accuracy of what people said and how they said it, far exceeds written minutes. However, at the same time, we've all been used to dealing with written minutes. I take them and within a few minutes, I scan the minutes of a committee meeting, and I pretty rapidly pick up a sense for what was contentious, what was not, who weighed in, who on the council seems to have an interest in this matter and who doesn't. And I don't know how easy that'll be for me to get off a system like that. So I think some of it will just require getting used to a new system and building in the habits to look at the agenda and selecting the items that I think are of interest and go looking at that segment of the video. But not having any experience with it, I don't know how cumbersome that's going to be. So I understand the concern that Alderman Zima is bringing forward. At the same time, I do believe that a system like this could be superior if it really works and it's easy to use. And that's an if.
I'm not disagreeing with you at all, Mr. Sladek. I think you're exactly right in what you're saying. But it doesn't do what we needed to do for our decision-making process. It makes it very cumbersome. You will have to start scanning. You'll have to go online, you're gonna have to start scanning meetings and punch on one thing at a time and all that. And then if you find something that somebody says, well, you're gonna have to sit and there's something that's particularly important to you or something, you're gonna have to try to figure out a way to write it down. And I tell you, it isn't gonna happen. You're gonna turn the whole decision-making process into kind of a rubber stamp affair.
I guess, Alderman Zima, until I have a chance to experience it, I don't know how cumbersome it's going to be.
They've told you you're not going to get a written record.
I
You can't
understand that.
punch on anything and get a written record.
Well, you'll still have the agenda, so you know what items are being discussed, and if there's one there you have a particular interest in, you'll be able to summarize everything about it, everything that was discussed on it. Like, for instance, I'm not too concerned if somebody in Alderman Stoyer's district was before the Board of Appeals because they wanted to widen their driveway by 2 feet. That's probably something I'll ignore, and I won't go in and look at that. But when it comes to city issues, developments, all that stuff, those are the things that we really dive into and dig into. So, not saying that I'm too lazy to go item by item by item, but it's not worth doing that. If there's a question about this driveway, I'd rather call Alderman Stoyer and say, Alderman Stoyer, what's your opinion on this?
You're making too light of this, Mr. Moore.
I don't believe
You're
I am.
making too
I don't
light.
believe I am, because this is
Nobody's-
technology that I grew up
nobody's worried
in and am
about the
surrounded and
method
am
of-
comfortable with.
The
And I understand that you're
permit
not.
of Mr. Stoyer's work. That is not what's at question here. Quit minimizing
Okay,
the
it's
importance of what
drastic.
we're talking about.
This is terrible. I can't believe, we're on two very opposite ends here. You're just saying this is crisis, the world is gonna
It is a
end, and I'm
crisis.
saying this is pretty easy to get used to and maneuver through.
And I'm saying I don't know.
And you're in the middle.
And it could be either
Well,
one.
Right, but we've already approved it, we've already purchased it, we're already implementing
So,
it.
do you
So-
not use the minutes?
Yeah, I use the minutes. Again, on items that I'm,
Have you ever looked into anything over at the county level?
no.
So,
You had stated you might,
You know what's going on at the meetings when you read their minutes.
But I also, when there's something that I'm really interested in, attend the meeting too. But I guess that's kind of the other part of it.
Well,
I get it, not everybody's going to do that or has time to
spend
build
time in
it.
memoriam, we have had
Right.
something more than motions and how people voted. The minutes, by and large, over the years, have been, when they're not, we know they're not perfect, but they bring us into the ballpark of what's been talked about. And then you see what people said and all this sort of thing. You are not going to go hunting here unless there's something that's been blown up in the press or something else.
I don't know that. Having never used a system, that's what troubles me. I don't know how easy it's going to be to go scan a lot of stuff.
There will be 20 years.
I think even that part of it's gonna be somewhat cumbersome, somewhat tiring, because it's like hunting the needle in the haystack to a certain extent, and they made it sound very easy to do, and probably once you get used to it, you can probably find it faster. But you still don't have the written words of the things you want. You're just hearing something. You know, there's nothing in writing that you can look at, and then help you tease your mind to ask the questions you want to ask of
But
yourself.
on the other hand, I will be looking at a record that is far more complete than any written minutes would be anyway. I agree. I don't know how cumbersome it's gonna be, but when I've got written minutes, I get a summary. I don't hear the emotion behind what's being said like it will on the tape. So, you know, it goes both ways, Guy. There's some pluses to this.
But, Mr. Sladek, I'm not here to criticize one thing about it. I'm just telling you, it doesn't serve the one real purpose we need. It gives us a permanent historical record that is nothing superior to it.
And I guess what I'm saying is, I don't know at this point that it won't
But it's a
serve,
different function.
it may serve my needs, maybe not yours. I don't know yet. I haven't had experience with it.
Well, meetings are either going to go very fast, or they're going to start reinventing the wheel, because they're not going to have, if you think people are going to go on and go through those agendas, get online, and go through that every week, I don't think it's going to happen.
I will.
You
I
get your
will-
packet is a convenient way to look at things, and as one of you had said, you look down, there's something that interests you more than others, and that's what you look at, and then you might even ask a couple questions of one of your colleagues or somebody in the staff or whatever. Because we don't want to use staff to make minutes, that's a reason to get rid of them? Not in my mind. I think this is a very big mistake. I think this is going to decrease the transparency, even though it's going to be there. It's not going to be usable, not in a very readily usable manner.
Just to reiterate, these are minutes. So they're not written, so the words of the people are not written, they're on video, but the motions and how the members of the committee or the council voted as a legal record, those are actual minutes, and then the accompanying video.
There's nothing that allows you to print off something on there.
Olderdorf?
Thank you, Alder, sorry. So I have lived through transition like this. When I was working with the school district, we went from the reams of paper, and the board went to the tablets, as did staff along the sides had to go. And of course, some of the same consternation that Alder Zima, it's something that you need to get used to, it's different, but once you get used to it, it's so much more complete than anything that you can possibly write down. And this, by typing a word in, and it goes right to the video, right? Isn't that what you showed me with the mosquito? My gosh, you type in a word, and you go right in, instead of searching through videos, you're right there. You see the emotion. You see, what was behind what people were saying, not just what was written, because someone's translating it into minutes. So having gone through the transition, it's at first difficult, and then just like learning to walk, it gets easier and easier the more you do it. So I'm very much in favor of this. Boy, the paper's overwhelming. It really is.
I think Alder Zim, thank you, Alder North. I think one of the things you were worried about, Guy, was the fact that, when you look at a video, our meetings are quite lengthy, and trying to find, scroll through it, but in the beginning, in the beginning of our demonstration, Mike Ronick, hold on, got to a certain word. If there was some concern that you had or a bullet point item, you just type that in and it would take you right to that point in the discussion. And then that would save you a ton of time. So I'm just saying that could be an advantage as well. I just wanted to point that out. So I know that you want more.
One thing doesn't have anything to do with the other.
Well, I'm just saying, it's information.
I think this is just the next step. Look, you're right. Minutes have been taken It's been taken since, woodpecker was chipping on a piece of wood to
Mhm.
put out the letters, and we moved on to typewriters and shorthand. And from there, we went into email and electronic minutes. A lot of us get our agendas emailed to us, and that's how we get our agendas now, rather than, on paper and mailed. I think this is just the next step. I mean, we can continually progress as the technology allows us to, and we've always adapted. You've adapted more than anybody has with city council and the way minutes were taken from the day you started to the day now. And, I mean, you've adapted just fine all the way through, and I understand that you've got, some hangups with this, and I agree, maybe pulling out the paper, be able to go through it, but even you've had to go down to the clerk's office and say, I need more minutes than this because you only put down a certain here. All of a sudden, minutes become subjective when they're on paper. Or if it's on the video, it's not subjective anymore. It's matter of fact.
Alder Nenning?
I have a couple of questions just to clarify what we're talking about here. I know you're putting 20 years of past minutes on there, but I presume the records before that are still going to be in the clerk's office like they are right now, so that's not going away. Because a lot of times, you don't know, there might be an issue that's 30 years old or 40
It's
years
definitely
old.
back.
If anything, we'd like to scan them
Or
and make
whatever,
them
okay. Now, in terms of the voting system, how we vote in the council chamber, I'm trying to figure out how this is going to work as far as our doing our job sitting and digesting the council chamber. Now, are those tablets going to replace the current voting system?
Yes.
Okay.
You'll have almost exactly the same voting, it's just on a different device.
Okay. What about I know right now it's kind of integrated with the sound system, and when you're asked to speak and,
Yeah, you request to speak from your tablet also, and it'll show up on the mayor's screen, and you'll be able to select your microphone, and the camera will zoom to it.
Okay. Now, when you're sitting in a council meeting with your tablet, if an issue comes up and you want to look at the historical records, like the minutes of a meeting, or let's say something comes up for reconsideration, you want to look at the original action, something like that, you can actually look at that on your tablet at the meeting, right? It doesn't work.
Well, when you're looking up something at the meeting, and if it's a video, it'd be very hard for 12 videos
Right.
for everybody to see that. But you don't currently look up your minutes at a meeting right now, a history of them, I guess.
Okay. Now, what about
You don't have to
those
stack
that
the
don't?
paper this tall.
Yeah. What about those meetings that don't have videos? And I'm thinking of things like the Transit Commission or.
Transit is going to put in the same equipment we have here.
Oh, they are?
Yes.
Okay. Like RDA today was talking about scheduling a meeting in November at the KI.
I don't have a solution for that.
Not sure how that's
It has,
going.
yeah, right. We do have some available camera technology that they could bring over and somebody could record it, someone from their staff. It's kind of like a lot of other communities hire camera people. Ours is automated, and maybe they have somebody from their staff using our camera system, or a portable camera system.
Oh, I'm on the Plan Commission, and at our meetings, the first item always is to approve the minutes of the last meeting. How are the members of the Plan Commission going to see the minutes of the last meeting?
So at the meeting, they have tablets, but then anyone can go into the system and look at the agenda, look at the minutes. And so, as soon as everything is released, which will be very quick, right, then the Plan Commission members can go in before the meeting. So let's say there's a meeting on Monday, and they know that the minutes are up on Friday, they can look at the minutes on the video. And they can access that via.
And then email it to the members of the.
No, they can go in and access the
They can
portal.
go in and look at it.
Right.
But the minutes are the video.
Right.
Isn't it just always approved then? How can you disapprove of a video? I can see how you, in the
Yes.
past, you could disagree with the minutes, but I don't know how you could do that.
Mhm.
Just some proof.
Be interesting to see if there's any motions to modify the minutes,
Yeah,
right?
I'd like
Well,
to see
I
that
mean,
one get approved.
there could be a time when something,
Yeah.
yeah, so you want to just make sure everything is
Sure, I hate to-
copacetic.
And I want to say, we're recording many, some of the minutes can be live streamed, some can be recorded directly to the Amazon website where all this data is stored. And then we're also recording the minutes on our devices like we always have, and then we have an audio device that we got it recorded 4 times. And then and if something failed, all of a sudden you type in minutes into the system. If you had 4 points of failure.
So Alder Zima, what is your solution here? What do you want, what are you looking at?
Solution. It's great to have this historical record put in good form and for access of anybody who's maybe doing some research and wants to find something. It's not practical for the day-to-day running of government here that we participate in. I can't tell you the times that, you look over an agenda and some item comes up on the agenda that, well, you hadn't paid attention to. And, well, I'm grabbing my minutes from meetings that took place the week before, and I'm looking there to see what was said before, try to bring myself up to date on it or whatever. You guys can just wash it away with the tide if you want. I think it's going to be a big disservice. I think we need to improve on our physical minutes rather than knock them away.
Okay.
And one thing is good for a permanent record. Nobody can say they said something different than what they said. It'll end the lying that goes on from time to time. And I tell you, sometimes we do remember things differently when we actually said them. But, it's a permanent record and all that, but for our practical use, that packet coming to us, what I think should be, on a whole, better than with the other, not all bad, but on a whole, a little bit better. I go to a redevelopment authority meeting and make some very serious questions of the developer. And then the minutes say, oh, Mr. Zima had questions, without telling you what the questions were, anything else. And it could be not me, it could be someone else. I think those minutes have to be better, they have to be fuller. They have to capture what's been said so that people reviewing the minutes, and they have a written thing in front of them, they may even underline something because they want to bring that out at the next meeting. You can't get a written copy off of this thing. This is great for electronics and for history. It's like, I don't know, maybe this wouldn't be the best comparison, but I'll make it anyway because I think it's somewhat relevant. Some people just buy a Fire notebook and they just read off of a tablet, and other people want the physical book. They can make an underline that they can go back to. They can reread a paragraph, whatever it is. And I think it's not a perfect analogy here, but if really, you folks, if you really can't understand what I'm talking about, then it's just a waste of my time talking here.
No,
You just don't get
I
it.
think we follow what you're saying. We're not.
And if you're satisfied with no more records physically coming out to you, so be it. I think it might actually be a detriment to the meetings because we might start doing more committee work on the floor. Because if you think all the aldermen are going to go through all these things one by one, and some people may even have difficulty using it, they might need some training session to even use it. But if you think they're going to do that, I don't think you understand human nature. I think those physical minutes that come out to us, I don't think they have to be perfect, but if they come out halfway decent, and there's something we want to see more, then we'll go back and we'll say, what was the rest of that discussion? But you have to have something more than just motions and voting. That is pathetically
Okay, I got it.
disservice to the public.
All right, thank you, Guy. Chris, did you want to add something here?
Yeah, I just want to get some things straight and then ask some questions. So Alderman Zima is not happy with the minutes now. And this started with P&W, like I stated the last time. those were, one meeting was 8 pages, one was, she actually had 15 minutes, brought it down to 11. So some of the longest minutes that there are, and he's not happy. So he is talking verbatim minutes. So every recording secretary, it's not just the clerk's office, every department has their own recording secretary, will have to do verbatim minutes.
Chris, you can't,
So
you
how-
gotta
can
stop
I
putting
Hold on.
words in my
Can I
mouth. You gotta
finish?
stop putting
Stop.
words in my
Can I-
mouth.
Guy,
I've never said
Guy,
that.
You
please,
just said it.
please, let
She's
her,
saying something different than
let
what
her
I said.
fin, please. Go ahead, Chris.
Okay, so doing verbatim minutes then, how is that different than watching the video and seeing it come out of a person's mouth and how they're relaying it? It's better than having it on paper. What's wrong with just going into the tablet and listening to what they're saying? And then if you have notes that you want to bring up at council, you would write your notes. I guess I don't understand.
Yeah, I should write my own minutes.
That isn't what I said.
But it's an option.
It is.
If
It
we
is.
want them printed, we could write down the key things.
You know, I mean, because then, I guess that's the problem that the recording secretaries are having. You know, none of you have come to us and said, can you do that? Can you put it word for word? Alderman Zima has. Well, how is the recording secretary supposed to know what's important to each one? She's trying to summarize, otherwise she would do it verbatim. You can't do it verbatim for one and not for the other. She can't make that decision. So I don't understand what's wrong with taking your tablet, hitting that item, and like Alderman Moore said, some stuff you're not even gonna look at, but the key stuff, I would rather see the person talking, and you get a whole different feel than someone summarizing.
I have one quick question. Of the 29 committees that the city is involved with, how many people, how many recording secretaries actually are at those meetings? Or anybody? Is there anybody besides the tapes? You know, just clarify that for me as far as,
All the ones in City Hall, they do not, from my understanding, go. Some, if they're during the day and they're working, they will,
Okay.
sit in, like maybe the
All right.
sex offender board. But if they're night meetings, they cut that out because it costs too much money. It was costing, overtime for the girls to be there, which still isn't gonna give you verbatim minutes.
well, I just hanker back when my wife used to work on personnel. She took minutes, shorthand too, by the way. Remember that? But so when did that end? I mean, like, that was a night meeting too. So what you're saying is that, you know when that ended roughly? That,
Well, I started in '05 and they were attending the meetings then. But I know in the last 5-6 years they haven't. I can't pinpoint the actual year that they stopped.
okay. Alderman Nenning?
One other question that came to mind, how do closed session things work? Chris mentioned the sex offender board, they'll have an issue come up and then they'll go in closed session on that and then go back into open session. How do you handle that?
I envision that being the same as how we do it now, because I'm the only one that has the the safe downstairs. And I do, and it's basically the council, because the committees keep them themselves. The council are the ones, per the attorney's office, that, I keep those in a safe. So that would just be how it's being done now.
My understanding on the closed session stuff is that as long as the item is, legally justifies it, to be kept closed, it's closed, but at some point it might become open.
And that's
You'll
usually
be-
the attorney's office asking.
You'll be working it right from the same pad, because you'll just hit pause, and you won't be recording anymore. And then you hit resume, then when you're out of closed session again, you'll just hit resume, and it'll start recording. It's currently how the same system works. None of the hardware, the nice thing about this is we tested all the current hardware that streams out to their web service, and it all works with it, it's all compatible. So none of this interface right here really will not change as far as closed sessions go.
Yeah. Just a comment, you know, I know this is a different way of doing things, and we have to learn how to use this. I think it'll have many benefits over, you know, the way it is right now. There are some things that are going to be different, and, you know, we will probably need a little bit of training on it. It's good, you know, but, you know, it does have potential to bring up information more quickly. And, you know, the ability to go right to the videos is tremendous. And I know what Guy is saying about written minutes. I have a reputation for like keeping files and things. But you know, if the information is there online and I can retrieve it, you know, I think I'll be able to do my job with it. You know, years ago, every committee had a recording secretary who took shorthand, and you know, for a lot of years, that's the way it worked. I don't know if there's any secretary in City Hall that knows shorthand anymore, or if even trained people in shorthand anymore. I still know it, but I don't know how many people do. But you know, I think that's part of the gap here. And you know, currently we've got a long form minutes at council, got long form minutes and short form minutes. So you read the short form minutes, it gets printed in the paper, and it's really hard to figure out what the heck is going on for the public. And you know, if this is online and the public can basically get the same access that we do, you know, I think it's going to serve the public quite well.
Tom, do you have anything?
Yeah, I guess I just, you know, change always has some difficulty with it, and consequently, there's always some resistance, but this feels to me like it's a piece of evolution that other cities have gone through, that the school district has gone through. I hear the testimonial that it's worked well, so, you know, I'm a little bit reticent about it because I know I'm gonna have to learn some new stuff, but I do a lot of things today on electronic systems that I didn't used to, and learned how to use them, and they work out okay, so I guess I'm not really too worried about this.
Joy, anything to add?
No.
Mr. Chairman, I think meetings are going to become more of a formality. There'll be something, I guess, that somebody can go and review historically if they want to, but maybe other people have just decided, it's not all that important. We'll just do the minimum we have to do. The minimum is you got to show.
We haven't gone through it yet. You know, it's like anything else. Until you go into a system, it's going to take a little bit of history to kind of get a feel for it.
If there was some way
So,
that you could, when you were looking at something that you wanted printed off, that you could push a button and it would be transcribed or something, that would be terrific. So you'd have a written piece of paper that you could take to the meeting with you or whatever. The cumbersome of, well, we're going to start taking the notes of what Mr. Sladek, Mr. Moore, Mr. Stoyer, Mr. Zimmerman had to say, it isn't going to happen. And maybe, you know, I look at the council meetings in Appleton, once in a while watch them on there. They're almost like just a formality, they almost don't talk about anything. It's not like our meetings. Our meetings, we have an abundance of discussion. And sometimes we wear ourselves out, and some stuff slips by. There's stuff that we vote on that we don't even know what we're voting on already. Because there's only so much time in a day, so much time in a person's life to do it. We're a bunch of part-time people that practically have a full-time job if you really work at it.
well, I hanker back to what Alder Netting said. I mean, I keep a lot of files too, and I'm running out of. I need a bigger house. You know, I mean, you get to a point where we're inundated with paper, inundated, and I'm just, it's too
Those
much.
papers are very important, Mr. Nenning, whatever he says here, because he's got something he goes back to and he remembers and he digs it out and he finds it. And then, oh, you go here. Well, how do you transcribe something you want? You can't.
I
And
suppose, I wonder.
and I tell you, you have to have some experience. The people taking the minutes have to have some experience. You know, you just don't jump out of high school and come and take a perfect minutes or a meeting or anything. You have to learn what's dominant,
So
what's
how-
not dominant. And of course, we as aldermen, often in the past, when I said something at a meeting that I wanted for sure for the record, I'd say, make sure this is in the record. And so we have responsibility to make sure, because I don't think they should have to write them verbatim either. But you've got to get the flavor of things that have real discussion. A lot of things just have informal discussion and everybody kind of agrees that there's not a problem or something or whatever, and on it goes. But then there's other things that are more contentious.
Well, the recording secretaries right now, just at the few meetings that they do go to, just basically give the basic information, correct? They don't really go into detail. Like I said, years
And
ago,
every
guys,
minute.
years ago, they had shorthand. They had the ability to keep up with what was being said. They don't have that now, so,
We haven't been dealing with shorthand.
for a long time.
For a long
I don't think,
time.
unless there was another technology I missed somewhere, but.
I'm just telling you, there's technology over there. We're recording our meetings there, but we still have good minutes. And those minutes are important for anybody who wants to bring themselves up to date, whether it's the public, a county board member, or someone else who's interested, who's looking for a historical record. They look for it. It's an important document. And, you know, maybe they gotta be put on microfiche or somewhere. Not, I guess you wouldn't use microfiche anymore, but those minutes can be stored. They don't have to be stored in volumes of paper in the basement of City Hall. They can be, but something that can be transcribed again if somebody wants, oh, you want that? Sure, we'll punch it up, we'll pull it off for you. The record has to be there to pull it off. There's nothing to pull off here.
Okay. Thomas?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, at this point, I'd like to thank Mike for the presentation. I think we learned some good things here about what other communities are doing and what these systems look like. Thank everybody who participated in the discussion, and move that we receive and place this matter on file.
I'll second that.
Okay. Is there any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Passes.
So what does that mean? You just received the presentation in place.
Right.
Right, it was a
Decisions
presentation.
about it.
No.
Consideration with possible action. We just received and placed it on file. Thank you, Mike. Number 7, consideration with possible action on request by Alder Dorf to determine the legality and practicality of imposing an 11 p.m. end time for city council meetings for the months of June, July, August, and September, and to schedule a meeting for the Thursday, the same week of each of these Tuesday monthly meetings to complete council business if needed. Alder Dorf?
So something I used to say to my children is, nothing good happens after midnight. And in that same spirit, I'd like to talk about why I proposed this. I did some research, and it was hard too, because I had to go back to every council meeting and try to scroll through all of those pages of minutes until I got to about the last one, and I couldn't figure out how to find the time, and I called the clerk's office and they said, why don't you just look at the amount of time on the video and then add that to 7 o'clock. God, that would have been so much easier than the 10 I had done already, scrolling through those minutes. But, so this is what I found out. For June, I've only been on council 2 years, right? Not even 2 years yet. So I did June, July, August, June, July, August for summer months. So 6/21/16, great meeting. 9:29 p.m. it adjourned. 7/19/16, 11:12 p.m. Not too bad. 8/16/16, 2:33 a.m. Okay. Then you come to this year, 6/20/17, 11:41. 7/18/2017, 1:03 a.m. and 8/18/2017, 3:09 a.m. So I'm looking at possibly the reason that those meetings have gone so long, certainly because there are items to discuss, but also because there's only one council meeting during those months. And if they are done before 11 p.m., then, no harm, no foul, then we're done. The reason I'm proposing looking at that same week We can't do it Wednesday because county board meets on those Wednesdays, because I already checked into that, so we couldn't do it the next night. But having it that same week then does allow for vacations and not, not having it on a different week, having a second meeting if we needed it. So it would allow for vacations for alders, vacations for administration, the city staff workers. So that's kind of why I was suggesting we keep it during the same week if needed. And I also looked up a bunch of them that were, we have 2 meetings a month, and the latest one I found then, there was one 11:13 p.m. and one 11:15 p.m., but for the most part, it was between 9 and 10 o'clock, 9 and 10:30. When there were 2 meetings a month, it seemed like the meetings were less.
Well, thank Holton, stay there, Alder North, thank you. We've both been on council the same amount of years, all 3 of us, and I'm not totally opposed to having the 2 meetings each month. I know that July is tough with summer and things like that. I don't know if we really ever had that discussion, but I will admit that it has been fairly lengthy as of late, some of the meetings that we have had, and partly because the city doesn't stop. People still have requests, there's still information, there's still things that have to be done. And, if you have 2 meetings, it lessens that load. So that's my initial shot at this discussion. I just would like to say that, if we had 2 meetings each month, I think a lot of this would go away. So, Alder Moore?
Yeah, I'm in agreement that I would rather see 2 council meetings scheduled rather than trying to carry a single agenda over a 3-day period from Tuesday to Thursday. Reason being on that, look, I think people understand if someone's on vacation, and several of us have missed a council meeting, but, it's not that 6 or 7 people are missing a council meeting. I've never seen a situation. I don't even know if I've experienced where 2 people missed a council meeting. But I think what ends up happening is, okay, so Tuesday, something hits council floor, it's a hot button issue, very hot topic, 11 p.m. comes, the news reports on it, the constituency gets into an uproar or whatever it might be, because the news cycle in Green Bay at 48 to 72 hours, and then it seems to die. But now you've got a situation where you may have people bringing additional agenda items to that second meeting because they can make that 24-hour notice and get it in, and now you're taking items up without having a chance to review, whereas now you've got, obviously you get your packet Friday, you've got your weekend, you've got your Monday to look at agenda items. So is there going to be any kind of a legality issue as far as adding to an agenda that was previously approved? Because you've got your 24-hour notice you're giving. It seems like you're falling within every guideline if you want to bring something new to the agenda.
I haven't thought of that.
And then there's also a situation where you do have staff and you do have council members that may be out of town on vacation and they drive in. Director Grenier just drove in he was at Wisconsin Dells, drove in for the council meeting, after the meeting was over, left and went back. So to have him now come back again on Thursday to complete an agenda, but I think that we need to kind of play it by ear as well. You don't have to schedule 2 meetings if the agenda's light. You got to almost kind of look at history and play it that way. I know Alderman Zima suggested in the past, why are we only having 1 meeting during these summer months? I think we're perfectly capable of having 2 and keeping the agendas light. I would rather see us go to that if it looks like we have, big development issues that could be 2 to 3 hour discussions, this kind of thing. So I guess that's just kind of my feeling on it. I'd really hate to stop a meeting halfway through and carry it 48 hours and bring it back up again.
I guess I didn't finish with the one thing I wanted to say too was having the public sit there, at one point, it was 1:30 in the morning when they were presenting their slides, and people leave before they get a chance to speak because it just goes crazy late. So that was another reason I was bringing it forward.
Well, I think it's honorable, the things you bring forward. I agree, the meetings are long. We start hallucinating, I think, after a while. They're very long meetings, and and I think it's like anything else. Some folks take off a little more time in the summer, they have their cottages, this, that, and the other thing. But I would kind of hanker to what I said initially, and then what Alder Moore said, that I would prefer to see, just keep the schedule the same all the way through the year. maybe July, maybe that'd be the 1 month, maybe that we could talk about just having one meeting, but I would just as soon see it just consistent all the way through.
I just don't think anybody's gonna get up in arms if someone's on vacation. And
You know,
it doesn't make.
we'll
the
have
meeting.
we'll have a quorum. Hold on a second, Alderman
Right.
Tom.
I joined the council, as you noted, the same time you guys did. And the first summer came around and I didn't understand why the meeting schedule changed to one per month. And I still don't know what the rationale is for it. So I think if we have a problem that has to be solved, I would just as soon look at maintaining the same schedule throughout the year. So,
Alder Zima, you wanted to say something?
Well, if you just want to know the history, the long history of this, is that the only meeting that was ever canceled was the one around the 4th of July, when the 4th of July fell on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
That was
Because
it?
people taking vacation, so that one, and really, if the 4th of July fell on Saturday, historically, the meeting still went on the following Tuesday, or whatever it was.
Right.
But it got to be that after time, that was the one that was canceled and just sort of, I guess people felt, well, we're gonna schedule our vacations around there or whatever it was. Now, the way the calendar works for vacations, people wanna take vacations. You have 4 months a year where there's an extra week in the month. So that's 3 weeks. 4 times a year, you have 3 weeks where you want to take a vacation, you're not missing anything. Or at most, you might miss a committee meeting. The meetings have been canceled really at the direction of the mayor's office, is where it's come from. And it started being, and I can be corrected on this, we can go back on the record maybe.
Thank you.
But, you know, it was the July one that was cut. And then all of a sudden, well, for whatever reason, you wanted another one cut in June or something. Then it became June, July, and August, and September. That's only in more recent years here. It doesn't make any sense to me at all.
Well,
I agree with everything
I think
you
we
said here so
all
far.
spoke. I'm in favor of the two. I think one of the points that came out of Alder Zima, though, was that, you know, folks do take vacations, you know, city staff, usually in the summertime, quite a bit. And part of the problem might be that there aren't enough folks to handle all of the minutes and all of the agendas and all of the different information. I think that's part of the reason that there's only one meeting per. That's just my guess. But, you know, I think if we all got into a habit of
That's not-
continuing, well, I'm just.
Historically, that's not correct.
Okay, well, that's fine, thank you for your clarification. But I still would opt to see the schedule stay the same all the way through the year. So,
Why don't I just make a motion that
I would do that.
we send a recommendation to council that we return to a 2-meeting schedule for the months of June, July, August, and September.
That would be my motion.
And then we will just play those, just have to play those meetings by ear.
Right.
Because, you know, you're gonna have to talk about committee meetings now too, if they're gonna be twice, or how those agendas are gonna be split, so.
Years ago with, you know, the 4th of July fell on a Tuesday or something
We'll
like that.
adjust. I
We
mean,
canceled it, but we just did that ourselves.
Right, and we've got that ability to
And
do
some
that
folks
through
will miss
ordinance.
meetings.
And you know, it means that there's 2 committee meetings for each meeting,
Right,
each month too.
exactly.
But I have to tell you that it's up to the judgment of the chair. Sometimes there's a very weak agenda, and if there's nothing pressing, the chairman would cancel a meeting, and that lightened up the load for that particular council meeting in the summertime too. And sometimes that was the case. But you know, the problem is they're not meeting enough, and everything's getting jammed onto, you know, 2 meetings are getting jammed onto one agenda, and meetings are really running long.
We're not disagreeing. Alder Dorn?
So just the only thing that doesn't address, but it may solve the problem, it doesn't address if the meeting is going on and on and
Right.
on. It doesn't address one of my main concerns, which were the people, the citizens in the audience, waiting to speak or waiting for an item. So it possibly will shorten the meetings. I guess I didn't, you know, I have a few other months, I didn't really look. It's hard to remember, did many
I don't
of
know
our
if we can
meetings
even-
go that late, even when we had 2 a month?
I don't know if we can actually even vote on what we brought forward. We're just looking
It says
at
with possible action.
possible action.
So I mean, it didn't address one of the main
Well-
reasons, which was trying to get a second time so that people know.
Right.
Which was a.
It's not
But the committee agendas are huge,
They're
because committees are only meeting once a month too.
They are.
Right,
So,
so it's a
and
backlog.
sometimes committees meet twice before a council meeting. So sometimes you have several
Exactly.
departments that have several committee meetings that are all showing up at one council meeting. So everything's getting, it's coming down the funnel and it's all getting caught with us as a funnel part.
Celestine?
I just want to clarify, so the motion is to go to 2 meetings a month in the summertime, council meetings as well as 2 committee meetings.
Yes.
Yes, that's my
And I
motion.
second that.
Okay. Any other discussion?
I just want to know if are you accepting
What's that?
the 4th of July?
I think that's probably one that we just have to play by ear depending on what the agenda items are. Because the chairs, again, like you said, the chairs have the call on that if they want to.
I think that decision
We could
can be
clarify-
made in the second one in June, you know. in the council.
Could we add something to that with that in mind? You know,
I think
Well,
the-
by ordinance, we're already covered for canceling a meeting with
Right.
the
okay,
chair.
all right. So
The only
that's
other one that was ever canceled, occasionally, one was canceled near Christmas.
Christmas. okay.
Occasionally, if there was not much on the agenda,
You know,
sometimes they did it.
I would think
But
that.
that wasn't every year.
I would
Just
hope that
sometimes.
the administration and council chair or the president and vice president could decide as well. I mean, we could discuss amongst that if there's a meeting that has to be changed. But I think for now, I think this motion would cover that mostly. What do you think? Do we vote yet? Do we vote? I
Yes.
said aye.
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 Okay. Okay. Thank you for your input. All right, next, 8, consideration with possible action on report of routine personnel actions for regular employees.
Move to receive and place on file.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Move to adjourn?
Move adjournment.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. All right. What? Can we stop?
Houston Democratic, you know, it's working shorthand.
Uh,
Clearing up our floor, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, okay, go ahead.
I mean,
Dave, don't go anywhere.